What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View podcast. Today's guest is someone I've been trying to get for a while. I'm so excited. She has had one of the most unique journeys in professional wrestling. From growing up in Miami and competing in sports like rugby and gymnastics to being recruited by WWE through the Next Gen program, being on reality television, basically, being Emma Diaz in NXT, rebuilding herself as Carolina Cruz, becoming Catalina Speed. This girl's done it all in a short amount of time. Please welcome to the show, Miss Carolina Cruz. Carolina, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. The middle of the week, kind of, but we're straggling along.
That's it. We're trudging along. That intro, I didn't realize till I started reading it. Man, you've accomplished a lot in a little bit of time.
I know. Sometimes I think back and I'm like, oh wow. When I ever have any doubts, I'm like, I shouldn't.
No, you're getting it done. You are getting it done.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start from the beginning. Obviously, in my research, I saw that you grew up in Miami, obviously of Cuban descent. What kind of kid were you? What were you passionate about, before wrestling ever entered the picture?
I was actually a pretty shy kid, kind of like what Kendall Gray was saying in her promo the other night, how she used to not get picked on in class to read. I was that type of kid. I always, had a very tight circle, never fit in. And now I know why, my journey was a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Most fans obviously now they know you as Carolina Cruz or Emma Diaz from your NXT time, but they don't realize that your athleticism and your athletic background runs deep. What
Yeah.
sports were you involved in growing up?
So gymnastics, cheerleading, dance, flag football, and then I got into rugby, and then amateur wrestling, and then professional wrestling.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're pretty well rounded. You bounced
Yeah.
around a bit.
Yes.
Rugby is really honestly what I want to talk about because I don't see a lot of interviewers ask you about it. And it's
I
not
know.
something we hear very often, a rugby player transitioning into professional wrestling. It's happened a couple times, but how did you get involved with rugby and what attracted you to it?
So I started off playing flag football, and I always have this passion. I did want to play tackle football essentially. But at the time there were no scholarships for women to even do flag football, or obviously like being on a men's team. I mean, it's cool, but it just wasn't the thing that I was trying to do at the time.
Right.
So I got into rugby. I was actually pretty much training at a park because I wanted to be a firefighter after high school. And a rugby coach approached me and was pretty much recruiting for his like local team. So I played a few games, and then it was my senior year, so I was like eager to try to go to college and be the
Right.
first in my family to like go to college, especially as an athlete. I started reaching out to a bunch of schools, sending my film, and then I kind of took the best offer and ended up going to college for rugby. So I pretty much learned the sport already at the pro level, which is the same kind of way I got into professional wrestling.
Right. Yeah. I'm starting to see a pattern in your career here.
Yeah, instead of being a master of one, I'm like a jack of all trades.
Hey,
But sometimes I wish I was a master of one.
yeah, naturally, but there's nothing wrong with the way you've done it for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, for people that haven't ever played rugby, easy for me to say my words, been exposed to rugby, easy for me to say. What did that sport teach you mentally and physically that maybe other sports didn't? Like you said, cheerleading, gymnastics, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so gymnastics is a very solo sport. Obviously, cheerleading is more of a team sport, but I mainly did gymnastics as my main sport growing up. So obviously that's super tough and it's more solo. But
Right.
rugby taught me, the importance of like a dance and a unity, you know what I mean? Because even coming off a line to play defense, if you leave any gaps, someone goes through.
Right.
So it taught me that, especially to be tough because that sport is no joke.
Yeah.
So a lot of us would play through injuries and all types of stuff, just like professional wrestling. But I always say pro wrestling is the hardest sport that I've done, for sure. It's harder than rugby.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue because looking back now, can you see things from rugby that kind of directly translated to professional wrestling? Like you said, the toughness aspect of it, that's obviously paramount in the sport.
Yeah, definitely taking bumps is super demanding on our bodies, just taking tackles and getting hit in rugby, so definitely that for sure.
Okay. So at what point in your life, obviously, professional wrestling didn't really seem to be on your radar
No,
growing
not at
up.
all.
How did WWE first discover you?
So I had a coach that coached me in flag football that always tried to kind of help me, get a scholarship and stuff like that, kind of like a
Right.
recruiter coach, but he mostly coached NFL. So he always had someone in the WWE reaching out for guys that were done with their NFL careers to kind of go to WWE because they always
Right.
recruit football players. And at the time, he was like, I have a girl, so he got me connected through there. So that's how they reached out. And then they just invited me to a tryout. I had no following, I had pretty much nothing,
They just
So
plucked you
they
out of
just took a
obscurity.
chance. Yeah, it was insane. I was a senior in college. I still had one more year to go, but I was finishing up my last season of rugby and amateur wrestling,
Right.
and me and Kendall Gray were on the same wrestling team actually, and she was a NIL athlete at the time, and I pretty much got signed, and then she came a little bit after me, but that was pretty much small world too. We were
Yeah,
on the same team.
I was just about to say, such a small world.
Yeah.
You became part of WWE's Next Gen recruitment initiative, if you will. What was
Yes.
that experience like from your perspective? Obviously, fans saw part of the process, but maybe they don't realize how competitive and demanding that avenue really is.
Yeah, I mean, that tryout was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, and it wasn't even the physicality, it was everything else,
Right.
just the pressure of what one feels to when it's time to perform and to do the job and to handle every angle of it. It's not easy, and I'm glad that some people understand that because it's not easy to go out there and do what we do. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And that
Agreed.
tryout really prepares you for what it's going to feel like when all eyes are on you. What are you going to do in that moment of pressure?
Yeah, and to kind of even exacerbate that even further, you had cameras in your face 24/7. Obviously, the Next Gen series that was on Tubi, you were a part of. What was
Yeah.
that process like of coming from rugby to having a camera in your face as you're trying to learn a brand new craft?
As far as the cameras, that was super new to me. And thinking back now, not that I didn't know, but I wasn't as educated in the fact that wrestling is an entertainment business. You know what I mean? And I wish that I would have really understood that when I was going through that process,
Right,
because I would
right,
have done some things differently, but everything happens for a reason. So yeah, it was a super cool experience. I'm glad people got to see the real things that happen. You know what I mean?
right,
Like the real reactions, the real emotion. Everything was so authentic because I didn't know what I
right.
was going into.
You didn't know how to work yet.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Do you remember that moment, whether it be before, after, during that whole time period of your life, when it finally hit you that you were going to be training at such an impressive facility as the Performance Center? I mean, that place, to say it's state of the art, is selling it short.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely always respected everything from day one. As soon as I got that contract, essentially, not the tryout, but as soon as I got the contract, I quickly learned all the history about all the amazing legends that there is and still are, and I pretty much learned all the ins and outs of the respect, in the business
Right.
because there's a lot that goes into it. I gave myself 110% while I was there. So that's the one regret I don't have is when I got released, I knew that I did everything that I possibly could. I came up with who is Emma Diaz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does she do? What does she stand for? Who is going to be Emma Diaz when she goes out in the crowd? Does she look performance ready? All those things. I worked on everything,
Yeah.
so I had no regrets when I got released. It
I
was
mean,
super hurtful, but it was good to know that I had no regrets.
right.
Everything I didn't think that I was ready for, I fixed, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do is give it 100% of what you have. And,
yeah.
sometimes it works out and sometimes it works out later.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you go to somewhere like the Performance Center, that's a group effort. That's just not one person. But who are some people that stand out, be it coaches or your peers, fellow talent, that really stick out to you that had a big impact on your development during that time period?
For coaches, I think all the coaches, Fit Finley was a huge one that I really loved his aggressive style, back in the day. So I attracted to him a lot. Terry Taylor, Norman Smiley was my coach for a long time. Robbie Brookside taught me how to lock up. But they all have a unique thing about themselves. I did look up to Lola Vice a lot during my early development, because she was someone from Miami, someone, with the same ethnicity as me that was
Right.
moving at such a fast pace. And she took me under her wing as well. So that was super cool to have as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Looking back now, because now you have some perspective, it's been a little while. What was the most rewarding part of your time as Emma Diaz in NXT?
Just being there. I'm so thankful for that because I don't know, when I got out on the indies, I didn't realize how many people love this,
Mm,
and how many people would do anything to be there, So it just my respect for everything and my love for everything grew so much bigger. And also the realization of wow, like only 1% make it.
yeah,
So if I never go back, I'd be a happy woman because I'm just so grateful to have been there, and I understand how hard it is to even go back or to even get in the door in the first place.
absolutely. Well,
So,
seeing your work and how hard you put in the hours and everything else, I find it hard to believe we've seen the last of Emma Diaz. But that's for another episode.
yeah, yeah, I know.
What's something you learned during your WWE run that you've carried with you? Obviously, you've talked about the love and respect you developed while working for
Yeah,
WWE. What do you still take with you today that you can look back on and be like, yeah, that started at that time?
definitely. That's a good question.
It's what I
I
do.
think definitely understanding, that the cream will always rise. That's one of my favorite quotes. Just you got to keep working hard and the cream will rise. You don't know when, but it will, you know what I mean? And, nothing is promised as well.
Yeah,
Unlike
yeah,
sports, it's not like you can work super hard and, you're definitely going to get an outcome. It's kind of like people that do this, they do it because they love it because wrestling is not owing you anything at all.
it's a fickle mistress.
So, yeah, that's something I learned for sure that I still carry with me to this day. And it's hard, because as humans, we like to do things because we're going to get a reward out of it.
Right.
So, wrestling is not that at all.
No, I think everybody that's involved in the wrestling business, I do believe at somewhere in their heart of hearts are just a masochist. They're gluttons for punishment.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't talk about your time in WWE without talking about the unfortunate portion, which was you leaving the company. When that
Yes.
when that release happened, what was your initial reaction?
Well, I kind of expected it. Not
Okay.
expected it, but I did have an intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of just, I don't know if, because I'm also the type of person that prepares for the worst. So I don't know if I was just always preparing for the worst and then it finally happened,
Right.
or if I just felt that it was going to happen. I don't know, but it was devastating. I was so upset, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, as one would
But I
be. I
was
mean,
super hungry to go back out there and kind of earn my spot and earn my stripes. I was like, well, I haven't earned my place anywhere actually. So why don't we start by doing that? You know?
That's a perfect segue. A lot of people in that
Yeah.
position, like we said, you weren't the quintessential WWE lifer where you were a fan all your life and this was your dream.
Yeah.
You kind of learned on the fly. You fell in love with it after you got the job. A lot of people would have
Exactly.
just walked away from that. They'd have been like, oh, well,
Yeah. I mean,
many people have. I mean,
90% of people, yeah, they just go back to their jobs, but I paid a lot of money to a wrestling school, to learn everything that I already knew in NXT,
right.
but just to earn my stripes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and that's my question to you is why? What made you decide to keep pursuing this crazy, crazy business we all love called wrestling?
I loved it. Well, okay, I'll give a deeper reason. I guess because so obviously my dad sacrificed a lot to be in this country, and like athletics was his passion. He was an athlete, but obviously in Cuba there's really nowhere you can go. Like there's definitely a ceiling, and half the people are not even proud to represent their country when they do.
Right.
So the fact that I'm his only daughter, his only child, I definitely want to make those 7 days that he spent in the ocean worthwhile. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's why, because he really loves me being an athlete.
I love
So
that. I
yeah.
I really respect that. That's fantastic. You could have easily been like, one day I was watching TV, I saw Brian Pillman Jr. doing this thing. I was like, "Whoa, I got to stay close to this business." I would have accepted that answer as well.
No, not good enough. No, I'm good.
But I digress.
Yeah.
After
No, but
WWE,
that's another
go
thing
ahead.
I'm super happy about is that I got to meet my life partner. So I always say that I was there for a reason, whether I'm going to be a huge star or whether I'm going to be married one day and have all my kids, like one or the
Absolutely.
other. Yeah.
Absolutely. We got to give Brian his shine. Poor guy. Best beard in wrestling.
Yes.
Let's just best beard in wrestling.
That is true.
After WWE, you reintroduced yourself as Carolina Cruz. What did you want that character to represent that was different from Emma Diaz?
Well, to me, Emma Diaz is more of a shy girl. But Carolina Cruz is more of the street racer from Miami that's Cuban, that's gritty, like Letty
Mm.
from Fast and Furious, and wear everything on her back, essentially. So I feel like I can be more of that person as Carolina Cruz.
So would you say that Emma Diaz was maybe a little bit closer to who you are in real life, whereas Carolina
Yes.
is turned up to 12?
Yes, exactly. So Emma Diaz is me in real life. Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge you faced in proving yourself after WWE? Obviously, the independent circuit, it's a shark tank out there. It's dog eat dog. It's everybody fighting for that position that you were just in. What kind of
Yeah.
difficulties did you deal with, especially in the beginning?
Well, I still deal with them today. It's like I said before, there's no promised reward.
Mm.
So obviously I have to pay my bills. So now how do I have a job and then also go to training every night and then travel on the weekends, and how do you even manage that life? Like that's a whole other side of it that no one talks about because the economy is expensive,
Telling
and
me.
you know the indies is not being signed to a company and making guaranteed money every week. So
Yeah.
90% of people have to have another job. So that was definitely the hard part. But luckily, the first year I was able to give 100% to wrestling because I have an amazing partner. And I was able to do well on the indies and get a lot of bookings. But then eventually it came down to, okay, do I want to do this forever? I have a college degree. Do I want to do something else? And then to be real, it's a complicated way like that, because you have to love it and you have to sacrifice doing your career and making really good money or doing what you love and taking a pay cut. So
Right.
that's one of the hardest things that I'm still facing today because I'm like,
The struggle is real. All aboard the struggle
mhm.
bus. I get it.
Yeah, but it's first world problems. Like,
Yeah.
come on. At least I'm blessed to have a choice. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? This wasn't even in my notes of questions, but now that we're talking about it, How important is it for you to have a partner? Because, like we said, obviously with Brian, he knows the business, he understands the business, he's part of the business.
Yeah.
How important is it to be with someone who understands those struggles and those pitfalls that you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely helpful because he, clawed his way up to the top. He, did the independent circuit for 6 years. And, he reminded me every day how lucky I was to have been in that position in the first place. So he tells me the truth, he humbles
Right.
me and, in ways where it's like, you have to love it or else don't do it at all because people will starve just to, go have a match,
Yeah,
and that's the beautiful thing about wrestling. And he will literally do anything for this business, and it's wonderful to see even someone that's was born into the business love it as much as he does, because he doesn't have to, but he still does. So
for
yeah,
sure.
it's pretty rewarding to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be invaluable to just have someone that can row the ship the same way you're going. Because obviously, if you were with some civilian, maybe they wouldn't understand what you're going through. It's hard to,
Yeah.
it's hard to commiserate when you're not deep in it,
Yeah,
like he is.
exactly.
Speaking of opportunity, though, you have an opportunity currently, and you've been with WoW for a little while, obviously as
Yes.
Catalina Speed, to lean even more so into that Letty type character. But she is very different from Emma. She's very different from Carolina. What was your reaction when that character was first presented to you? Because obviously, for those that don't know, WoW is very character based. I don't want to say campy, but it's a different kind of wrestling. How did that kind of
Yeah.
come about?
Well, I like that first of all, they kept kind of I don't want to say gimmick, but they kept everything about Carolina Cruz the same.
Right.
And I also really like that my character essentially can be even escalated from 10 to 20, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
it's a good character.
Right.
So yeah, I was excited to kind of dive into what else can Carolina Cruz do,
Mm-hmm.
that Catalina Speed might do differently. So instead of having a whole different persona in WoW.
Right. But you
Yeah.
still get to work a different muscle. Over the top. That was the word I was looking for, not campy. Because
Yes.
I never want to be disrespectful because WoW is a
No.
wonderful company.
Yes.
But yeah, they just have they're a very niche product, I guess is the best way to put
For
it.
sure. Yeah.
Obviously we love WoW here, but it's not without its speed bumps. You were actually in the news a couple months ago for being on the
Mhm.
receiving end of a very unfortunate incident. Whenever moments like that happen in wrestling, fans only see a short clip, especially then because I don't even think the season was out yet. From your perspective, what was that experience like and what did you take away from it? That being the leg drop that kind of smashed you in the face.
Yeah. Well, just, it was just a reminder that don't take anything for granted because it's dangerous to go out there and do what we do, So, yeah, that's what that was, and I'm glad that I was okay afterwards,
Right. Right. As we start to round this thing out, when we look ahead a couple years, what are your goals you're chasing right now, both long term and short?
So I learned that you can't really have planned goals in wrestling. So
Fair enough.
that's honestly where I'm at right now. I'm definitely going to be training a lot harder and kind of just seeing where that takes me. But I'm just going by day,
I love it.
honestly.
I love
Yeah.
it. Well, this has been so much fun, but I can't let you out of here without asking you my favorite two questions. The first of which being, this is the Fans View podcast. I'm just a fan for the fans here, kind of like Fubu back in the day. The millennials are going to understand. The Gen X aren't. What are you a fan of
Hmm.
outside of wrestling? Let me put that caveat. Outside of wrestling, what are you a fan of?
That's a good question. Cars.
That checks out. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I like to go to car shows and scout everything around and watch races and NASCAR and all types of stuff.
NASCAR fan. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Yes.
Are you lean more towards NASCAR than like F1 or anything like that?
No, definitely more F1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. I did not have that on my bingo card. So look at that.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. And last but not least, this is my favorite question to ask. At this stage, not just of your career, but of your life, you're still obviously a young woman with a million miles ahead of you. How do you define success at this stage?
Mm. I think just, being able to have all the things that people kind of look over, like a roof over your head, a loving partner, maybe a dog, food on your table, and still being happy, So not sacrificing your happiness for everything else. I think that's what success is. Like you've got everything that some people don't have.
I
The
love
little
that.
things.
Absolutely. You know what? And perspective goes a long way. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
That's impressive for a woman your age to just have that kind of perspective is impressive. So
Yes.
kudos to you. We love you here at the Fans View. Like I said, we've been trying to get you on for probably since we started the show. You're a tough
Oh my
lady.
gosh.
You're a tough lady, but that's okay. Good things come to
Thank you.
those who wait. So
Sorry.
hopefully, hopefully we can do a part 2 sometime soon. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean, before I let you go, though, obviously we got to plug away. Where can people find you on social media, merch, anything like that? Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, definitely Carolina Cruz _era on Instagram and X and TikTok. I do have a link in my bio for any type of merch, but I am wrestling this weekend at Gremlin House on Saturday, July 11th. And I'm wrestling against Serena Linton.
Okay.
So, yes, the spicy girl. So that should be a super good match. I'm really excited. So, you guys can tune in to that coming up.
Love it. And you know what? I promised her I'd shoehorn her into this interview. So when we talk about success, success is having a friend as great as Rachel Leigh, too, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
can we all agree on that? How great the Princess of Perfection is?
Yes, for sure.
I had to shoehorn her in. Carolina, this has been so much fun. Like I said, I look forward to having you on again because your story is so unique, and I mean, we have really just scratched the surface.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Guys,
your time.
of course, guys, make sure to go follow Carolina. She dropped the socials, buy some merch if you're in her area. Go check her out and support her in person. While you're on social media and YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe and follow and all that stuff for the podcast as well. And most importantly, guys, don't forget at the end of the day, call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.